Welcome back to the deep dive. So, if you're listening to this, you likely already have excellent English skills. You can structure complex sentences, you understand the grammar, and you can definitely convey information. But have you ever felt that your communication, well, technically correct, still sounds a bit stiff, a little formal, or as we like to call it, robotic English? Well, this deep dive is for you.
Yeah, that feeling of rigidity almost always comes from relying too heavily on textbook formulas. They teach you the structure, sure, but they often miss the cultural nuance of daily speech. So our mission today is really to cut through that formality. We're going to give you a shortcut, 5 essential multi-tool conversational phrases that native speakers use constantly. The goal is to shift you from just functional to truly fluent.
We are unlocking the code of natural small talk. And I think we have to start by redefining what small talk even is, because the textbook definition brief, casual conversation, doesn't really explain its true purpose.
Precisely. If you look at it as just an exchange of information, it seems pointless. Why talk about the weather? We both can see it's raining. But the real purpose of small talk is not about transferring factual information at all. It's about building a social bridge.
A social bridge. I like that. I hadn't really thought of it that way. So it's a sort of non-committal way to gauge another person's openness
Mhm.
and establish a momentary connection.
Exactly. Think about it. You're waiting in line at the grocery store, meeting a neighbor at the mailbox, or sitting on a long bus ride. Those little exchanges, a comment on the music, a shared sigh about the line, they're signaling, I'm friendly, I'm present, I'm not a threat.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an ancient social mechanism, just modernized.
Okay, let's unpack this with some real-world contrasts, because this is where the difficulty usually starts. When learners try to sound polite or correct, they often default to very formal language. But that book English, it actually works against the goal of building that social bridge.
It creates distance. It really does. Using overly official, long, or structured sentences doesn't sound confident. It often sounds rigid, signaling that the interaction is just transactional, or that maybe the speaker is a bit uncomfortable. Natural language, on the other hand, it signals ease and self-confidence, and that invites the other person to respond in the same way.
Let's get into some specific examples because I think the common mistakes aren't always these absurdly formal phrases. Sometimes it's just overly structured sentences that sound a little old-fashioned.
Right, exactly. Instead of extremes, let's look at common, plausible, non-native constructions. Imagine you need to ask a stranger about the travel schedule. A very proper approach might be, could you please inform me of the schedule for the bus?
Which is, I mean, it's grammatically flawless,
Totally flawless.
but it sounds like an automated announcement. In reality, that whole phrase gets condensed down to almost nothing. You'd probably hear, hey, do you know if the bus is running late?
See, the real-world version focuses only on the uncertainty, is it late, not on the formal act of asking. It's concise, and it relies on that shared context.
Another classic is the weather. The formal way might be something like, it is a very pleasant day, is it not?
Hmm.
That little tag question at the end, that inverted question, it just instantly puts up a barrier.
And it instantly flags the speaker as using a very, elevated, maybe even written style. Nobody talks like that unless they're trying to be funny or like super academic. The reality is much simpler. Beautiful day, isn't it?
Or even just,
Finally, some sun. It's an observation, a shared emotional moment, not a meteorological report.
and what about that famous awkward dog compliment? That desire to use the correct terminology leads straight to stiffness. You get something like, I find your canine very appealing.
Oh, it sounds like you're describing a museum exhibit. The goal is warmth and speed. The real phrases are quick, they're simple, they're direct. What a cute dog. Is he yours?
Hmm.
That instantly sets a light social tone, which is the entire point of the small talk bridge.
So we need to ditch the dictionary and embrace this sort of utility belt of conversational tools. Let's dive into the 5 multi-tool expressions. These phrases are conversational workhorses. They work across the board, on the street, in a cafe, at the playground.
And what's so fascinating about these 5 is how they bundle meaning and tone together. They're shortcuts for complex social ideas, which is why they grant you that feeling of immediate fluency.
Let's start with number 1. This one captures a specific mix of frustration and affection, a handful.
A handful is one of the most culturally nuanced phrases we have on this list. It means something or someone that requires a ton of attention or is difficult to manage. But the critical part, the part that signals true fluency, is that it's almost always said with a sigh or a smile or a tone of light, almost loving frustration.
It's like permission to vent without being genuinely angry. If you say, my 5-year-old is difficult, that sounds like a judgment. But if you say, my 5-year-old is a handful,
It implies you still adore them.
exactly, even if they just painted the dog green.
That's it. Culturally, this phrase lets you complain while still being polite and affectionate, which is so important in English-speaking cultures where, overt complaining is often avoided.
I can relate. Last month, I tried to take my bike, a suitcase, and a big box of books on the train during rush hour. I kept dropping things. I must have looked ridiculous. I later told a friend, man, that whole trip was such a handful. It just sums up the whole chaotic experience.
That's a perfect use case,
Hmm.
or, describing a friend. She needs constant reassurance. She can be a bit of a handful sometimes. A common service industry example is the demanding but nice customer. That table with all the special requests was a handful, but they tipped really well.
And just to repeat the technical detail, the emphasis is heavy on the age-and syllable, handful. That really sets the rhythm.
Okay, moving to number 2,
Hmm.
to keep an eye on. This phrase is just pure social utility and trust building.
I hear this phrase almost every time I go to a cafe or a library. What makes it so effective?
It means to watch over someone or something for a short time. By asking someone to keep an eye on your bag, you're performing this small, low-stakes act of vulnerability. You're basically saying, I trust you, a total stranger, for the next 60 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And when the person agrees, they reciprocate that trust and that social bridge gets instantly stronger.
It's transactional, but it feels communal. You
Yeah.
need to use the restroom at the airport, so you turn to the person next to you and say, would you mind keeping an eye on my luggage for a minute?
And it extends beyond that into community living. In apartment buildings, people often say, we always keep an eye on Mrs. Jones's mail when she's away.
Hmm.
It signified that neighborly cooperation.
Or at the park, if you need to take a call, can you keep an eye on my dog for a sec? It's just an incredibly versatile way to ask for help. Speaking of building trust, that leads us right into phrase number 3, to get along with.
This is fundamental. It's all about describing social dynamics and harmony. It simply means to be on good terms or have a positive relationship with someone. It's the default question for vetting social compatibility.
You hear it everywhere, from dog parks to HR departments. Does your golden retriever get along with little dogs?
Or if you're moving into a shared apartment, are you sure you'll get along with your new roommate? She's very quiet. It describes the successful navigation of cohabitation, whether it's with pets, family, or coworkers.
It gives you insight into professional dynamics, too. You might hear someone say, the new manager really seems to get along with the whole sales team, which is a big relief.
And critically, it implies ease. When you get along with someone, the relationship requires minimal effort and conflict. It's the sign of a smoothly functioning group.
All right, now for phrase 4, which just injects instant warmth into a conversation. What a sweetheart.
This is a direct injection of positive emotion. It's an expression used for kind, often gentle, people, children, or pets. While it might translate to so cute or how kind, the way we use what a sweetheart is much more fluid.
It's the go-to compliment that feels personal without being intrusive. I was at a coffee shop the other day, and the barista accidentally spilled a little milk on my jacket. She was horrified. My colleague later told me, don't worry about her. She's such a sweetheart. She'll replace your coffee for free.
That's a perfect example. It's like a conversational seal of approval for someone's character. You use it when describing your interactions, a neighbor's kid who always waves, or a really polite customer.
That old man who bought the paper this morning, what a sweetheart. He wished me a happy day.
Okay, but quick contextual warning. We said small talk is about social bridges. Would you use this phrase to describe, say, your CEO or a high-ranking official?
Probably not, no. Unless you have a very close, informal relationship with them. This phrase belongs firmly in the friendly, casual register. It's great for daily life, but you'd want to use more formal compliment like, she is very kind, or he is a thoughtful leader in a professional meeting. Always match the language to the relationship. That makes perfect sense. Now, for phrase 5. This might be the most important one for avoiding that robotic feeling when you need to make a request. I was wondering if
This phrase is a masterclass in conversational politeness. It's the gentlest, most indirect, and therefore the most natural way to ask for something in spoken English.
My question is, doesn't that sound a bit passive? If I'm in a hurry and I need information fast, why shouldn't I just ask directly, where is the pharmacy? Does using I was wondering if actually slow things down?
Well, it might take half a second longer to say, but it speeds up the social transaction immeasurably. Here's the technical reason. Using that conditional tense was wondering, it frames your request as an internal, tentative thought. It's not an obligation for the listener.
Ah, so instead of demanding information, you're kind of inviting them to participate in your thought process.
Precisely. If you ask, can you tell me where the pharmacy is? That demands an immediate yes or no. You can feel a little pushy. But if you say, I was wondering if you knew where the nearest pharmacy is, you give the listener a graceful way out. And because of that, they're much more likely to help you enthusiastically.
It softens the entire interaction. On a crowded bus, instead of asking, may I sit here, which is correct but a little formal, you ask, I was wondering if the seat was taken.
It works in every single setting, from a casual request to a professional one. I was wondering if you had the latest sales figures ready. It signals courtesy and it reduces the pressure on the other person. Make this your default for any request.
That list of 5 gives you immediate cultural traction. Now, let's tie it all together and see how these tools can transform a simple interaction from a cold transaction into a warm human connection.
Let's go back to that scenario of asking for basic directions from a stranger on the street.
Okay, here's the tourist script relying on formal, direct language. The speaker wants a service.
Excuse me, where is the bus stop, please? Thank you. And the outcome is usually a cold, one-word response. 2 blocks down. The transaction is complete, but no social bridge was built. The connection is 0.
Now let's try the local script, using these multi-tools.
You start by softening the approach, using our politeness default. Hey, sorry to bother you. I was wondering if you knew which bus goes downtown.
The passerby, feeling respected, gives a detailed, friendly answer. Oh, you need the 55. It's running a bit late, maybe 10 minutes.
Now, instead of just ending it there, you keep the momentum going. You use an observation and a compliment. Perfect. Thanks so much. By the way, I see you've got a dog. Is that a spaniel? What a sweetheart.
And this is the magic part. The passerby shifts their own language and starts using the same informal style. Thanks.
Yeah.
He's beautiful, but honestly, he's been a bit of a handful today because of all this wind.
The interaction is now completely different. You didn't just get information. You shared a genuine moment of humor, connection, and even a little vulnerability. That's the feeling of confidence and fluency we're aiming for.
But sometimes, even with the best tools, you freeze up. You're just standing there needing to start a conversation, and your brain goes blank. We need those guaranteed low-effort starting points. Let's talk about the big 3 conversation starters.
These are your universal fail-safes. Topics that are guaranteed to be safe, easy, and, applicable to 99% of people you'll meet in a public space.
Number 1, pets. If there's a pet, it's an immediate positive opening. Is that your pup? He's so cute. How old is he? It's an easy compliment, and it's almost guaranteed to get an enthusiastic response.
I might challenge that just a little. What if the person is clearly in a hurry and just wants to walk their dog? Doesn't commenting on the pet slow them down?
That's a fair point, but that's where your intonation and brevity come in. You keep it light, quick, and you're ready to drop it. You ask the question, but if they give you a clipped, one-word answer, you just smile and move on. The big 3 are openings, not demands for an hour-long chat.
Agreed. The second guaranteed topic is weather. It is always happening, it affects everyone, and it requires 0 specialized knowledge.
And crucially, it's a chance to share an emotion. Can you believe this humidity? I hope it cools down tonight. You're sharing discomfort or relief, which builds that social bridge.
And finally, number 3, immediate surroundings. Complimenting something specific about the environment or the person's non-personal belongings.
Right. Not, you look nice, which is personal and can be awkward, but I love your jacket. Where did you get it? Or, if you're in a store, this line is moving pretty quickly, thank goodness. You're commenting on the shared reality of that specific moment.
Using one of the big 3 lets you gently enter someone's social space. And once you have that opening, you can then smoothly transition to one of your 5 multi-tool phrases to keep the conversation flowing.
This has been incredibly focused on bridging that gap between grammatical correctness and, cultural fluency. That shift takes real effort and awareness, but the payoff is that immediate connection.
And remember that fluency in small talk is like a muscle. It needs active use.
Mhm.
Try actively listening for these 5 phrases. A handful, keep an eye on, get along with. What a sweetheart. And I was wondering if next time you watch a show or just overhear a conversation, notice how often they come up.
And we have a practical challenge for you, the listener, to really cement this learning right now. Think about your own life. Maybe it's a difficult project at work, a particularly demanding pet, or just the state of your laundry basket. Now, apply the phrase a handful to a genuine situation you are currently facing.
Say it out loud. Internalize that specific, nuanced feeling of affectionate, light frustration. That active application is how linguistic knowledge really transforms into conversational fluency.
We've unlocked the critical tools for your daily interactions today.
And next time, we're taking this new level of conversational confidence and applying it to a higher stakes environment. We'll be diving deep into navigating small talk in a professional setting, networking events, water cooler chats, job interviews, without that terrible, sinking feeling of awkwardness.
Until then, practice those bridges and happy connecting.